Winter is the dangerous time of year where we let endless amounts of comfort food into our mouths and the pounds of fat stack on. How do I know? I was one of those people, but not anymore. In this video, we will make a one-pot chicken noodle soup from start to finish in 30 minutes that is meal prep ready. I will also show you time-saving hacks throughout the recipe and how to save money the next time you make it. Let's get into it. We'll start with a large bottomed pot. Mine is 5.5 quarts, but if you have an even bigger pot, this will give you more breathing room because we will be filling this bad boy all the way up. Put it on a scale, add 20 grams of olive oil, and put it on a burner over medium heat. In the meantime, we will get our vegetables chopped, starting with a head of celery. To make sure all dirt is removed from the store-bought celery stalk, we will quickly tear it into individual sticks, run them under warm water, and pat dry with a kitchen towel. We will then line up the tips of the stalks, cut off about 1 inch, and discard it. From there, we will chop the celery down into 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch slices until we get 400 grams of celery into a large bowl, while remembering not to include the white portion of the sticks. At this point, the oil should be hot and we will add our celery to the pot and mix everything together to make sure all of the celery is coated in oil. We will then quickly rough chop 8 grams of fresh parsley, removing any big stems, and put it in a small bowl off to the side. This is the perfect time to prep our chicken, and luckily there's an extremely convenient and super flavorful way to do so: rotisserie chicken. This is a 2-pound fully cooked chicken. This is a 2-pound fully cooked chicken that takes nothing other than our hands to both grab off of the store shelf and prep. For the convenience and flavor, this option can't be beat. You can literally walk in with your groceries and start making this as soon as you get in the door, which, funny enough, is exactly what I did to record this video. Under $20. You can substitute canned chicken here if you can't get a rotisserie chicken, which will actually make this recipe even faster. But you are creating a 40% drop off in delectable chicken flavor if you do have the option of one or the other. Convenience or flavor, you choose. Speaking of which, we will use the same bowl that we weighed the celery in for our meat and another large bowl for our leftovers. The goal is simple: put anything that is chicken meat in one bowl and put anything and everything else into the other bowl. You may be wondering why I just don't throw this away instead of making another dirty dish, but I will explain this later in the video. Once our chicken is ready, our hands will be greasy, so we will give them a quick wash, add the chicken to our cutting board, and put the chicken carcass off to the side. Oh, and don't throw away that chicken juice at the bottom of the rotisserie container. That is a secret flavor booster for later. Then we will give the celery a quick toss and make a hole in the middle of the pot. Into it, we will add 15 grams of minced garlic. Let's give the garlic and celery a good stir and let those flavors marinate. Grab a knife and rough chop the chicken. This will make sure there are no stringy pieces or overly large pieces in our soup. You may be asking how I calculated the calories for the chicken. Well, for my practice runs, I weighed out the chicken section by section and took the average for each section. I then used the averages and the macro chart in my cookbook that I made for different cuts of meat and calculated the final numbers into my calorie tracking app that I use to log all of my recipes. If you want all of those calorie charts at your disposal, along with the 130 recipes that are in my cookbook, check out the link in the pinned comment and use code E4CM for 10% off the cookbook. Place the diced chicken back into the bowl. It has been about 30 seconds since the garlic went in and is now fragrant, so it is time to add more vegetables. But we didn't chop any more vegetables. This is where our next major time-saving hack comes in: pre-chopped frozen vegetables. Frozen vegetables are just as fresh as vegetables sitting in the produce section at the grocery store, possibly even fresher since they are frozen during their peak ripeness. They come with plenty of benefits, which the most important for this recipe is that there is no prep work necessary. Speaking of which, we will take 1 bag or 454 grams of peas and carrots and dump them right into our pot along with 1 bag or 340 grams of diced onion. Since we have a few minutes to kill, I'm going to lay all of my chicken remnants on my sheet pan and bake them in a preheated 450-degree oven for 20 minutes. This will help extract some flavor for what we do later in the video. Now, after 2 to 3 minutes and a few stirs, the vegetables are de-thawed and we are nearing the finish line of any physical work that needs to be done. Into the pot, we will add 3 grams paprika, 3 grams black pepper, and 48 grams better than bouillon chicken flavoring. Since we didn't make a proper chicken stock and the stuff at the grocery store isn't that flavorful, the chicken paste is going to greatly enhance the chicken flavoring of our chicken broth. Let's give everything a good mix before adding our broth. For that, we will just use 2 boxes of any cheap chicken broth that we can get our hands on. What is that third box doing there? You will find out soon. Now is a good time to add our chicken in as well and give it a good stir. We have to let this broth heat up for a couple of minutes, so let's talk noodles. The obvious choice for a noodle on a channel like mine would be one with more protein, and that is exactly what I chose. The box of choice this time will be Barilla Plus Protein Farfalle noodles. Feel free to use the noodles of your choice, but I chose these ones because they only cost slightly more than the original Barilla noodles and still come with 7 servings. I was going to use Banza noodles, but they only come with 4 servings and cost even more for a box. Let's drop 4 servings or 224 grams of noodles into our pasta and give everything another mix. As you can see, the water isn't boiling, but doesn't need to be to cook noodles to perfection. It will just take a few more minutes to get to al dente, so we'll try the noodles after 10 to 12 minutes to confirm doneness. Once the noodles are to our preference, we will finish the soup off by adding a full bag or 9 ounces of spinach. While spinach isn't necessary for chicken soup, I am just trying to jam-pack this soup with as much nutrients and fiber as possible so we stay as full as possible for as long as possible. Plus, the broth and chicken will taste so good, the vegetables will be an afterthought when you are laying in bed wondering how you are so damn full. Gently push and mix the spinach into the soup. At this point, the soup is technically done. However, I like to do 3 more things. The first is add a little more broth to the soup. 400 grams to be exact. This will add back what the dry noodles soaked up and what has simmered off while cooking. Secondly, I like to add one last pop of flavor, which comes from the 8 grams of parsley we chopped earlier. You can add that as a garnish once the soup is in a bowl or straight into the pot, and in this instance, I will add it straight into the pot. The last and final thing, which is optional, is turmeric. Turmeric gives the soup its famous yellow color, and adding 3 grams will lock in the classic look of an authentic chicken soup. Give the soup a stir, and while it's cooling off, we can't forget about the chicken in the oven, so let's broil the chicken leftovers on high for 2 minutes to release even more flavor. Then dump everything into another 5-quart pot and add 2,500 grams of water to it. Scrape any brown pieces, or what I like to call the flavor enhancers, off the sheet pan using some warm water and add that to the pot as well. We can't forget about the chicken juice sitting in the rotisserie container either. It has gelatinized and is going to add a bunch of flavor to our stock, so add that into the pot too. Let that simmer for 2 hours and strain out the bones and skin. You now have a free stock ready to be used for your next round of chicken soup that is definitely better than the store-bought stuff. Each serving will be about 830 grams, which conveniently fits perfectly into a large deli container. I bought a set of these last year and they have come in clutch in so many circumstances such as this one. If you want to check them out, I will link them in the description below. I let the soup cool down near room temperature before adding it to each container and storing in the fridge. When ready to reheat, add to a large bowl, place a wet paper towel over it, and microwave for 4 to 5 minutes. In just 30 minutes, we went from a bag of groceries to freshly made chicken noodle soup, and each serving is packed with volume, protein, and fiber. You may only want to use half a serving for an appetizer though, and have something like a homemade pizza for the main course. In this video here, I show you how to prep pizzas for the entire week that only cost $1 per pizza while having 40 grams of protein per pizza as well. Until next time, deuces.